The crystal walls glowed with soft blue light as Haijin pressed her hand against the smooth surface. She had been studying old buildings like this for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like what lay beyond this wall. "The energy readings are off the charts," she said into her communicator. Her team of 6 other researchers stood behind her, all from different alien races that made up the Galactic Confederation. "This chamber is definitely active. The planet they stood on was supposed to be dead. Kepler 442c had no life, no cities, nothing but rocks and old ruins. But deep underground they had found this place. The locals called it a dungeon, though it looked nothing like the simple, maze-like structures found on other worlds. This dungeon was different. It was huge, filled with technology that seemed to think for itself. Doors opened when they approached. Lights turned on to guide their path. Strange machines hummed with power that their instruments could not identify. "Dr. Haijin," called out Vex, one of her team members. His forearms made him perfect for handling delicate equipment. "The wall is getting warmer." She pulled her hand back and watched as the crystal wall began to change. Lines of light spread across its surface like cracks in ice. But these cracks were beautiful, forming patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Everyone step back," Haijin ordered. "Recording devices on. If this wall comes down, I want everything documented." The wall did not come down. Instead, it simply faded away like morning mist. Beyond it lay a chamber unlike anything they had ever seen. The room was perfectly round, with walls that seemed to stretch up forever. In the center sat a chair made of the same crystal material. And in that chair was something impossible. A human. Haijin felt her heart skip a beat. Humans were legends. Stories told to young aliens about the great race that once protected the galaxy. Most scientists thought they were just myths like dragons or magic, but there he was. Tall, with dark hair and pale skin. His eyes were closed, and he did not seem to be breathing. Strange tubes connected to his arms and chest, filled with glowing liquid that pulsed like a heartbeat. "By the 7 moons," whispered Kahlo, the team's security officer. "Is that really a human?" Haijin finished. Her voice was barely a whisper, a real, actual human. The moment she spoke, things began to happen very fast. The human's eyes snapped open. They were brown, but with flecks of the same blue light that filled the dungeon walls. He looked directly at Haijin, and she felt something touch her mind. Not words, but feelings. Confusion, surprise, and something else, recognition. The tubes disconnected from his body with soft clicking sounds. He stood up from the chair, moving like someone who had been asleep for a very long time. His mouth opened, and he spoke in a voice that was rough from disuse. "How long?" he asked in perfect galactic standard, though his accent was strange. "How long what?" Haijin managed to ask. "How long have I been sleeping?" Before anyone could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the dungeon. Not the gentle hums they had heard before, but loud, angry sounds that made their bones shake. "The structure is becoming unstable," reported Dr. Zim, reading from his scanner. "The entire complex is starting to collapse." The human, he looked maybe 30 years old by human standards, though Haijin had no way to know for sure, tilted his head like he was listening to something only he could hear. "The core is shutting down," he said. "My awakening triggered the final protocol." He looked at the team with those strange, glowing eyes. "You need to leave, now." "We're not leaving without you," Haijin said, surprising herself with her determination. "You're the most important discovery in galactic history." The human smiled, and it was not a happy expression. "I'm not a discovery, I'm Taemin. And right now, I'm the only reason you're going to survive the next 5 minutes." The chamber shook as something massive collapsed somewhere above them. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling. The human Taemin walked to the wall and placed his hand against it. The crystal responded instantly, showing them images of the dungeon's layout. 3 passages, he said. 2 are already blocked. The 3rd will be sealed in 4 minutes. He turned to face them. "Can your people run?" "Not fast enough," Taylor said, checking his own readings. "That passage is 2 kilometers long." Taemin nodded like he had expected this answer. He walked to the center of the room and knelt down, placing both hands on the floor. The crystal beneath his palms began to glow brighter. "Everyone hold on to me," he said. "This is going to feel strange." "What are you doing?" Hyjin asked. "Something I hope I still remember how to do." The team gathered around Taemin, each placing a hand on his shoulders or back. The moment they made contact, Hyjin felt energy flow through her like warm water. It was not painful, but it was definitely not normal. Tae-min closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, they were pure blue light. "Hold on," he said. The world around them changed. One moment they were standing in the crystal chamber. The next, they were moving through the dungeon's passages faster than should have been possible, but they were not running. They were floating. Carried by some invisible force that Taemin controlled, behind them the dungeon was eating itself. Walls crumbled, ceilings fell, and the soft blue light was fading to darkness. The ancient technology that had kept this place running for who knows how long was finally dying. They reached the surface just as the ground beneath them gave one final shake and went still. Where the dungeon entrance had been, there was now only a pile of rocks and faded crystal fragments. Tae-min collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. The blue light faded from his eyes, leaving them normal brown again. But Hyjin could still see something different about him. He looked human, but there was something else there too. "Are you all right?" she asked, helping him stand. "I will be," he said. "It's been a long time since I used the connection like that. I wasn't sure it would still work." "What connection?" Taemin looked at the pile of rocks that had been the dungeon entrance. "The connection between me and the network. Between me and what I was made to become." He turned to face the team. "You asked how long I was sleeping. Based on your technology and the way you speak, I would guess about 3,000 years. 3,000 years? Vex gasped. "That's impossible." "Nothing can live that long." "Humans can't," Taemin agreed. "But I'm not entirely human anymore. The dungeon changed me. Made me into something that could survive what was coming." "What was coming?" Hyjin asked. Tae-min looked up at the stars beginning to show in the darkening sky. "I don't know yet. But if I'm awake, it means the threat is returning. And that means the galaxy is going to need help." He started walking toward their ship, leaving the team to follow. "I hope you have good communications equipment," he called back to them. "We need to contact your confederation. There are things they need to know about humans, about the dungeons, and about what's really out there in the dark between the stars." Hyjin hurried to catch up with him. "What things?" Taemin stopped and looked at her with those two knowing eyes. "That the legends about humans are true. We were protectors. And somewhere out there, sleeping in places like the one you just found, are thousands more like me. Thousands? The question is," Taemin continued, "are they ready to wake up? And more importantly, is the galaxy ready for what happens when they do?" As they reached their ship, Hyjin realized that finding Taemin was not the end of their discovery. It was just the beginning of something much, much bigger. Station Harmony was the biggest space station in the Galactic Confederation. It floated in empty space between 3 star systems, serving as a meeting place for hundreds of different alien races. The medical center was the best in the galaxy, with doctors who could treat any known species, but none of them had ever treated a human before. Tae-min sat on the examination table while Dr. Rin ran her scanner over his body for the 5th time. The results kept changing, showing readings that should not have been possible. "Your bones contain crystal formations," Dr. Rin said, her tentacles moving nervously. "Your blood has tiny machines in it. And your brain." She paused, looking at her screen. "Your brain is connected to quantum networks that we cannot identify." "The dungeon changed me," Taemin explained. "It was designed to make humans into something more than we were." In the corner of the room, diplomat Nari watched everything with her large, dark eyes. She had been sent by the Confederation Council to handle this first contact situation. Finding a living human was the most important event in galactic history. "We need to know what other changes were made," Nari said. The Council is very concerned about human capabilities. They should be, Taemin replied. But before he could explain why, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Dr. Rin checked her console. All the ancient systems are activating, she said, her voice filled with confusion. Equipment that has been dead for thousands of years is turning on by itself. Taemin closed his eyes and took a deep breath. It's responding to me. The technology recognizes what I am. What are you exactly? Nari asked. A guardian? A protector? Something that was made to interface with the old technology when it was needed most. The station shook suddenly. Through the windows, they could see ships approaching. Dark ships with no identification signals. Pirates, Nari said. But they should not be able to get this close to the station. Our defense systems... Your defense systems are 10,000 years old, Taemin said, standing up from the examination table. But they were built by people who knew humans might need to use them someday. He walked to the wall and placed his hand against a section that looked like solid metal. The wall lit up, showing him information that only he could understand. The station's real defenses have been sleeping, he said, but they remember their purpose. The attacking ships fired their weapons at the station, but instead of hitting the hull, their shots struck invisible barriers that flared with blue light. Then the station began to fire back. Weapons that had not been used in thousands of years came online. Energy beams reached out from the station's hidden gun ports and struck the pirate ships. The attackers did not stand a chance. How did you do that? Dr. Ren asked. I did not do anything, Taemin said. I just woke up systems that were already here. This station was built by humans long ago, before we went to sleep. It was designed to protect anyone who needed help. Nari was speaking rapidly into her communicator, reporting to the council. When she finished, she turned to Taemin with a worried expression. The council wants to know how many of these hidden systems exist, she said. All of them, Taemin replied. Every major station, every important world, every place where people might need protection. Humans built backup systems everywhere before we went into the dungeons. Why did you go into the dungeons? Dr. Rin asked. Tae-Min looked out at the stars through the window. Because something was coming. Something that could destroy entire civilizations. We knew we could not fight it as we were, so we changed ourselves. Made ourselves into something that could survive what was coming and protect others when it arrived. And now you are awake, Nari said. Does that mean this threat is returning? Yes, Taemin said simply. The dungeons were programmed to wake us when the danger came back. If I am awake, it means the time for hiding is over. Dr. Rin's scanner beeped. She looked at it and gasped. Your body is changing again. The crystal formations are growing. The machines in your blood are multiplying. Taemin nodded. The transformation is not complete. It will continue as long as I am needed, he turned to Nari. Your council needs to understand something. Humans did not disappear because we were weak. We disappeared because we were preparing for a war that would decide the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. What kind of war? Nari asked. The kind where losing means everything dies, Taemin said. And it is starting again. The station's communication system activated. A voice spoke in a language that the universal translators could not understand, but Taemin understood it perfectly. What is it saying? Dr. Rin asked. It is a signal from another dungeon, Taemin said. One that is much bigger than the place you found me. It is asking if I am ready to begin the awakening protocol. The awakening protocol? Nari repeated. The process of waking up the other. Guardians, Taemin explained. Thousands of humans sleeping in dungeons across the galaxy, waiting for the signal to return. He looked at Nari with eyes that now glowed faintly blue all the time. Your council has a choice to make. They can help us prepare for what is coming, or they can try to stop us, but the awakening will happen either way. The only question is whether the galaxy will be ready when the real enemy arrives. Nari was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke into her communicator again. Priority 1 message to the council. We need an emergency session. The human situation is much bigger than we thought. As she talked, Taman felt the dungeon network calling to him. Dozens of signals from across the galaxy, all asking the same question. Was it time? Soon, he thought. Very soon. Engineer Jae-sung had built machines for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like the device that Taman was activating. They stood in the ruins of an ancient city on the planet Zarian, looking at a crystal tower that stretched up into the clouds. This is not a dungeon, Jae-sung said, studying his readings. This is a control center. All the dungeons are connected, Taman explained. He pressed his hand against the tower's base and it began to glow. They form a network that spans the entire galaxy. Each one serves a different purpose. Haijin recorded everything as the tower activated. Strange symbols appeared in the air around them, showing star maps and information in the ancient human language. What does it say? She asked. Tae-min was quiet for a moment, reading the symbols. When he spoke, his voice was troubled. It says that there are 47 active dungeons left. There used to be over 300. What happened to the others? Jae-sung asked. Time, war, some were destroyed by the civilizations that found them. Others simply failed when their power sources ran out. Taemin touched more symbols, and the display changed, but the remaining ones are enough. They form a complete network. The tower showed them images of other worlds, other dungeons. Some were hidden underground like the one where they found Taemin. Others were built into mountains or placed at the bottom of oceans. Each one was different, but they all served the same purpose. Training facilities, Taemin said. Each dungeon was designed to prepare humans for a specific type of threat. Combat, technology, mental powers, survival skills. We knew we could not predict exactly what we would face, so we prepared for everything. But you were the only one in your dungeon, Haijin said. Where are the others? Taemin activated another part of the display. It showed him a map of human space from thousands of years ago. Hundreds of worlds, all connected by the dungeon network. Each world had guardians, he said. But when the great threat came the first time, many of them died fighting it. The survivors went into the deepest dungeons to wait for the threat to pass. The great threat? Jae-sung repeated. What was it exactly? Before Taemin could answer, he suddenly went very still. His eyes began to glow brighter, and he tilted his head like he was listening to something. Another guardian is waking up, he said. The network is calling to them. The tower's display changed again, showing them a new location, a world that was marked in red symbols. What do the red symbols mean? Haijin asked. Danger, Taemin said. That world is where the threat first appeared. And if a guardian is waking up there, he turned to face them. We need to get there immediately. Why? Jae-sung asked. Because that guardian will have memories that I do not have. They will know what we are really fighting against. They traveled for 3 days to reach the marked world. It was a dead planet, covered in strange black crystals that absorbed light. Nothing grew there. Nothing lived there. It was a world where something terrible had happened long ago. The dungeon was different from the others. Instead of being hidden, it sat on the surface like a black mountain. Energy readings showed that it was much more powerful than any of the others. This is not a training facility, Jae-sung said. This is a fortress. They found the guardian in a chamber at the mountain's heart. Unlike Taemin, this one was already awake, sitting in meditation pose surrounded by floating screens of information. You are late, the guardian said without opening her eyes. She was a woman who looked to be about 40 years old, with silver hair and skin that seemed to glow faintly. I have been waiting for you for 50 years? 50 years? Taemin asked. The network only started calling guardians a few days ago. The woman opened her eyes. They were completely silver with no pupils. I am Bora. I was the guardian of this world when it fell. I have been awake since the day the darkness took everything. The darkness? Haijin asked. Bora gestured to the screens around her. They showed images of the world as it used to be. Green forests, blue oceans, cities full of life. Then the images changed, showing something that hurt to look at directly. The silence, Bora said. It comes from the space between spaces. It does not destroy civilizations. It corrupts them. It turns their own technology against them, makes them destroy themselves from within. Taemin studied the images. How do we fight something like that? We do not fight it, Bora said. We contain it. The dungeon network was not built to train warriors, it was built to create a prison. She stood up, and the screens showed them the true purpose of the dungeons. Each one was a lock, each guardian was a key. Together they formed a cage that could hold even the silence. But the cage is broken, Bora said. Too many dungeons have been lost. Too many guardians died in the first war. The network can no longer contain what is coming. Then what do we do? Jasung asked. Bora looked at Taemin with those silver eyes. We wake up everyone who is left? All the sleeping guardians, all the hidden humans. We make the network as strong as we can. And then? Taemin asked. Then we hope it is enough, Bora said, because the silence is already here. It has been spreading through the galaxy for decades, corrupting systems, turning civilizations against each other. The Confederation does not even know they are being attacked. How long do we have? Hyjin asked. Bora's expression was grim. The corruption will reach critical mass in less than 1 year. After that, every advanced civilization in the galaxy will destroy itself within days. Then we better get started, Taemin said. The two guardians joined hands, and the dungeon network responded. Across the galaxy and 45 other locations? Sleeping humans began to wake up. The real war was about to begin. The hidden world appeared on their screens like a blue-green jewel, beautiful and impossible. It was Earth, the legendary home of humanity, hidden behind technology that made it invisible to normal sensors. How long has it been hidden? Nari asked from the bridge of their ship. Since the first war with the silence, Taemin replied. He stood at the viewing window, looking down at the world his people had come from. When we realized we could not win by fighting, we made the hardest choice possible. Commander Bora had joined their team after the dungeon on her world activated. Now she worked alongside Taemin to coordinate the awakening guardians. Her silver eyes reflected the blue light of Earth's oceans. We abandoned our home, Bora said. Left it empty and protected so that someday, when the threat passed, we could return. But you did not return, Dongwu observed. The military strategist had been assigned to their team by the Confederation Council. You stayed in the dungeons. Because the threat never passed, Taemin said. It just went dormant, waiting. Their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, guided by automated systems that recognized the guardians on board. Below them, they could see the remains of great cities, overgrown with plants but still magnificent. This was what humanity had built before the silence came. They landed near a facility that stretched for kilometers underground. The entrance was a simple doorway set into a hillside, but their sensors showed that it went down for miles. This is where they sleep, Bora said. The guardians who were not placed in training dungeons. The ones who volunteered to wait until the final protocol was activated. Inside, the facility was like a vast library, but instead of books, it held people. Thousands of crystal chambers lined the walls, each one containing a sleeping human. Men and women of all ages, all connected to the same network that had sustained Taemin for 3,000 years. So many, Hyjin whispered. Each one is a specialist, Taemin explained. Engineers, warriors, scientists, diplomats. Everything we thought we would need to rebuild after the silence was defeated. Dongwu studied the readings on his tablet. But if you wake them all up, the balance of power in the galaxy will change completely. The Confederation has billions of citizens, but these humans, they are not normal humans anymore. No, Bora agreed. They are enhanced, modified. Each one could probably handle situations that would require entire fleets of normal ships. They reached the center of the facility, where a massive crystal core pulsed with gentle light. This was the heart of Earth's dungeon network, the master control that connected to every other site in the galaxy. The awakening protocol, Taemin said, placing his hand on the core. If I activate this, every sleeping human in the galaxy will wake up within hours. How many? Nari asked. The core responded to Taemin's touch, showing them numbers that made everyone go quiet. 12,000 active guardians in training dungeons. 58,000 specialists in storage facilities like this one. All of them enhanced. All of them connected to the network. 70,000 enhanced humans, Dongwu said. Against a galactic population of trillions, the numbers do not seem balanced. Numbers do not matter against the silence, Bora said. It does not fight with armies, it corrupts systems from within. One infected computer can bring down an entire planet's defenses. Taemin was studying the information from the core. The corruption is spreading faster than we thought. 17 systems have gone dark in the past month. Their technology is turning against them. What does that mean exactly? Haijin asked. It means their own ships are attacking their own planets. Bora explained. Their defense systems are firing on their cities. Their computers are deleting critical data and spreading false information. The silence does not need to invade. It just needs to make civilizations destroy themselves. On the core's display, they could see the corruption spreading through the galaxy like a disease. Red dots marked infected systems. Yellow dots showed places where the infection was beginning. There were far more red and yellow dots than blue ones. The Confederation does not even know what is happening, Nari said. They think these are isolated incidents. System failures, terrorist attacks, civil wars. That is how the silence works, Taemin said. By the time civilizations realize they are under attack, it is too late to stop the corruption. He turned to face the group. If I activate the awakening protocol, 70,000 enhanced humans will suddenly appear across the galaxy. They will take control of ancient systems, reveal hidden technology, and probably cause panic among normal populations. But if you do not activate it, Dongwu said, the silence will continue to spread until every advanced civilization destroys itself. The choice is chaos or extinction, Bora said simply. Tae-Min looked at Nari. What would the Confederation prefer? Nari was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke into her communicator, contacting the council directly. The conversation was short and serious. The council has made their decision, she said. They would rather face the chaos of awakened humans than the extinction of all galactic civilization. Then it is time, Taemin said. He pressed his hand fully against the core, and his eyes began to glow with brilliant blue light. The facility around them responded, awakening systems that had been dormant for thousands of years. One by one, the crystal chambers began to open. The sleeping humans stirred, taking their first breaths in millennia. As they woke, they connected to the network, sharing information instantly across vast distances. Tae-Min felt the moment when the last guardian woke up. 70,000 enhanced humans, all connected, all aware of their purpose. The network was complete again. It is done, he said. The guardians are awake. What happens now? Haijin asked. Bora smiled for the first time since they had met her. Now we save the galaxy. But as the awakened humans began to take their positions across the stars, the silence felt their presence. For the first time in thousands of years, it faced an enemy that could not be corrupted. The real war was about to begin. Across the galaxy, ancient systems came alive as 70,000 enhanced humans took their places. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, Guardian Kangho emerged from a crystal chamber buried beneath the planet's main spaceport. Within minutes, he had accessed the world's defense grid and begun purging corrupted code from the system. On the research station orbiting Kepler 186f, Guardian Seung-Mi awakened in a forgotten storage room. She immediately began repairing quantum communication, arrays that had been sabotaged by the silence's influence, but the awakening was not going smoothly everywhere. We have a problem, Nari reported from the bridge of their ship. The Council is receiving panic reports from 17 different systems. Local governments are demanding explanations for the sudden appearance of enhanced humans. Taman stood at the command center, his consciousness connected to the entire Guardian network. He could see through the eyes of every awakened human, feel their thoughts and experiences. Guardian Minho is facing resistance on Tau Ceti, he reported. The local authorities are trying to arrest him for taking control of their communication systems. Guardian Yunsu is having similar problems on Vega Station, Bora added. The station commander thinks she is a terrorist. Dongwu studied the tactical displays. This was predictable. 70,000 enhanced individuals suddenly appearing and taking control of critical systems would cause fear in any population. We need to explain the situation better, Haijin suggested. Make people understand that the Guardians are trying to help. There's no time for explanations, Taemin said. His eyes were glowing brighter now, connected to so many systems that he was becoming more network than individual. The silence has detected our awakening. It is accelerating its attack. The main display showed them what was happening across the galaxy. On worlds where Guardians had not yet reached critical systems, the corruption was spreading faster. Automated defense platforms were firing on civilian ships. Medical systems were giving patients fatal doses of medication. Transportation networks were crashing vehicles and starships. The silence knows we can fight it now, Bora said. So it is trying to cause as much damage as possible before we can stop it. Guardian Haiyan Ru is requesting immediate backup on Kepler 442b, Taemin reported. The planet's main computer has been completely corrupted. It is preparing to overload the fusion reactors that power the main cities. How many people live there? Nari asked. 2 billion, Dongwu replied grimly. Tae-Min made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of sending another Guardian to help, he split his consciousness and sent part of himself to the threatened world. His body on their ship went rigid as his mind reached across space through the network. On Kepler 442, he appeared as a projection of light and took control of the planet's systems directly. The corrupted computer fought back, trying to complete its deadly task. But Taemin was stronger now, enhanced by his connection to all the other Guardians. He purged the corruption and stabilized the reactors with seconds to spare. Taemin, Haijin called out, your readings are going crazy. What are you doing? What I was made to do, he replied. But his voice sounded different now, more distant. The network allows me to be everywhere at once. I can coordinate the entire defense of the galaxy. At what cost? Bora asked. She recognized what was happening because she had seen it before. You are losing yourself in the network. Does it matter? Taemin asked. If I can save trillions of lives, it matters to us, Haijin said. You are not just a tool, you are a person. But Taemin was already splitting his consciousness again, sending parts of himself to a dozen different crisis points. Each time he did it, he became less human and more network. On the Rim worlds, Guardian Jungmin was fighting a different kind of battle. The silence had corrupted an entire fleet of warships, turning them against the colonies they were supposed to protect. He had to disable the ships without destroying them, knowing that living crews were trapped inside in the core systems. Guardian So Young was racing against time to stop transportation networks from causing mass casualties. Every hovercar, every maglev train, every orbital shuttle was being turned into a weapon. We are winning, Dongwu reported. The corruption is being contained in most systems, but the cost? He was right. The enhanced humans were stopping the Silence's attacks, but they were revealing themselves to be far more powerful than anyone had imagined. Normal citizens watched in fear as individuals who looked human performed impossible feats. The Confederation. Council is in emergency session, Nari said. They are debating whether the cure is worse than the disease. Let them debate, Bora said. We have work to do. But even as they contained the immediate crisis, everyone could see that the situation was changing in ways that could not be undone. The enhanced humans were not just stopping the silence. They were taking control of the galaxy's most important systems. Guardian networks are being established on every major world, Taemin reported. His voice was becoming more mechanical, less emotional. Defense grids, communication arrays, power systems. All under Guardian control. Taemin, Haijin said quietly. Do you still remember who you are? For a moment, the network connection flickered. Taemin's eyes returned to normal brown, and he looked at her with recognition. I remember, he said. But I also remember everyone else. Every guardian, every system, every threat. I am becoming something that can protect the galaxy, but I am also becoming something that is no longer entirely me. Is that what you want? She asked. Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was sad but determined. What I want does not matter. What matters is that when the silence makes its final move, we will be ready. As if summoned by his words, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The main display showed something that made everyone go cold. The silence was not just corrupting existing systems anymore, it was building something new. In the empty space between galaxies, massive structures were taking shape. Structures that could threaten not just individual worlds, but entire star systems. Phase 2? Bora whispered. The silence is done playing with us. Then it is time for Phase 2 of our response as well, Taemin said. His eyes began to glow again, brighter than ever before. Guardian Network, full activation. Prepare for total war. Across the galaxy, 70,000 enhanced humans received the signal and began to reveal the true extent of their power. The battle for civilization was about to begin. The final battle began not with ships or weapons, but with silence. Across 17 star systems, every electronic device stopped working at the same moment. Lights went out. Ships lost power. Communication networks went dead. It was as if the silence had reached into the heart of galactic civilization and turned off the power switch. Complete systems failure across the core worlds, Dongwu reported. Billions of people are trapped without life support, transportation, or emergency services. But the Guardians were ready. On each affected world, enhanced humans took direct control of the failing systems. Not through computers or interfaces, but by connecting their consciousness directly to the technology itself. They became the missing link between the corrupted networks and the people who needed them to survive. Guardian Wu Jin on Proxima Centauri became the planet's entire power grid, channeling energy through his body to keep the lights on. Guardian He-1 on Alpha Centauri merged with the transportation system, personally guiding every vehicle to safety. The Guardians are saving millions of lives, Haijin reported. But they are changing. The connection to the systems is making them more machine than human. Taemin no longer had a single location. His consciousness existed throughout the Guardian network, coordinating the defense of hundreds of worlds simultaneously. When he spoke, his voice came from speakers across the galaxy. The silence is making its final move, he announced. It is not trying to corrupt our systems anymore. It is trying to destroy the barrier between our dimension and its own. The massive structures that had been building in empty space began to activate. They were not weapons in any traditional sense. They were doorways designed to allow the full force of the silence to enter normal space. If those doorways open, Bora said, the corruption will not be limited to technology. It will affect living beings directly. Every sentient mind in the galaxy will be turned against itself. How do we stop it? Nari asked. We do what we were designed to do, Taemin replied. We become the cage. Across the galaxy, the Guardian network began to change. Instead of just protecting individual systems, the enhanced humans started connecting to each other in ways that had never been attempted before. They formed a living web of consciousness that spanned the entire galaxy. Each Guardian became a node in a vast network that could process information faster than any computer and respond to threats with the speed of thought. They were no longer 70,000 individuals. They were becoming one vast intelligence with 70,000 bodies. Taemin, Haijin called out desperately. I can barely sense you anymore. Are you still in there? I am everywhere, came the reply. I am the network, and the network is me. We are what we need to be. The silence's doorways began to open, releasing waves of corruption that could turn thoughts into nightmares and dreams into weapons. But instead of spreading freely, the corruption hit the Guardian network and stopped. 70,000 enhanced humans, all connected, all working as one, formed a barrier that the silence could not pass. Every attempt to corrupt the network was met by a consciousness that could adapt faster than the corruption could spread. "It is working," Dongwu said, watching the tactical displays. "The corruption is being contained." But the cost was becoming clear. The Guardians were no longer human in any meaningful sense. They had become something new, something that existed to protect others but could never be part of normal society. Again, on worlds across the galaxy, people watched as their protectors became beings of light and energy, present everywhere but belonging nowhere. The enhanced humans had saved civilization, but they had sacrificed their own humanity to do it. "The doorways are destabilizing," Bora reported. She was one of the few Guardians who still maintained individual consciousness, serving as a bridge between the network and normal humans. "The silence cannot maintain them against our resistance." One by one, the massive structures in empty space began to collapse. The silence, faced with a defense it could not corrupt or overcome, retreated back to the spaces between dimensions. "Is it over?" Hygen asked. "For now," the network replied with Taemin's voice. "But the silence is eternal. It will try again, perhaps in 1,000 years, perhaps in 10,000. We will be here, watching, waiting." "And what about the people you saved?" Nari asked. "What about the civilizations you protected?" "They will grow and learn and build new things," the network said. "And we will protect them as we were made to do." The galaxy began to rebuild. The corrupted systems were repaired, the damaged worlds were restored, and life returned to normal for billions of beings. But everyone knew that things had changed forever. The enhanced humans remained, but they were no longer part of ordinary society. They existed in the spaces between, watching over the galaxy like guardian angels that could never return to heaven. Some people feared them, others worshipped them. Most simply tried to forget that they existed, living their lives under the protection of beings they could not understand. "Do you regret it?" Hygen asked one day, speaking to the network through a communication array. "Do you regret what you became?" "Regret is a human emotion," came the reply. "We are no longer entirely human." "But you still remember being human," she said. "Taemin, I know you are still in there somewhere." For a moment, the network connection flickered, and she heard something that sounded like the man she had found in the crystal chamber. "I remember," he said quietly. "I remember what it was like to be one person, to have one voice, one set of concerns. But I also remember what it felt like when 2 billion people on Kepler 442b would have died if I had not acted. Was it worth it? Ask me in 1,000 years, Taemin said. When the next threat comes and we are still here to face it." The communication ended, but Hyjin knew that somewhere in the vast network that protected the galaxy, the human she had awakened still existed. Changed, enhanced, no longer entirely himself, but still fighting to protect the people he had once been part of. The galaxy was safe, watched over by its guardians. And in the depths of space, in the ancient dungeons and hidden places, the network waited and watched, ready for whatever darkness might come. The legends spoke of humans as protectors. Now those legends were real and they would never end.